property. The pool and the pool house were built in 1987. But so they don't get much, they don't get many entities there. However, there's a little girl that hangs out under the stairway in the teenage daughter's room. She's there every night, and they converse.
With the teenage daughter,
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so they're hearing music, different types of music from different eras.
Different eras, from the 30s, mostly from the 70s and 80s, because that was a party house.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of residual energy from that time period. But also the 1930s and big band era, and I get a lot of that in the main house as well.
And the little girl that's now communicating with a person, the spirit girl is communicating with a real teenager, and then also some shadows as well. They're seeing shadows.
Yeah, they often see shadows there, but everything seems to be friendly. Nobody seems to be upset by any of it.
Okay. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about the activity in the Carriage House. So stay tuned.
My journey skating for the gold taught me a lot, but my journey with breast cancer has been one of my greatest teachers.
Every woman's breast cancer is unique. Be Wiser educates and empowers women to take control of their breast cancer treatment plan and help navigate their own path beyond 5 years.
Talk to your doctor about information and tests to personalize a treatment plan that fits your needs. I did. Be informed, be wiser, support survivors like us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We're talking to Wendy Shugol, owner of Haunted Dream Meadows. We're going to talk about the Carriage House now, so let's get started. So, Wendy, take it from here.
All right. The Carriage House was the original garage. It was a cinder block building, probably built in the 1920s or so, and was converted to living quarters in the 1980s. That house has been very, very interesting. The couple that's living there now have had a lot of experiences since they've been there. And the first one came shortly after they had moved in. And the gentleman that's living there told his housemate, there's a motor or something down in the pipes in the bathroom. And he said he went in there during the night to use the facilities, and he heard like a motor, like a truck motor. And so when that was brought up to me, I said, well, you know, this was the original garage. There was probably farm equipment in there. I said, does it sound like an old tractor perhaps? And they said, yeah, that's it. And he was convinced that it was down the pipe, but his housemate and I know differently. But anyway, several pictures have been taken there, and the woman that's living in that house actually sees the entities. She's very sensitive. She comes from a Native American background, and but she's extremely sensitive to these things, and she actually sees the entities, and she hears them also. I hear more than I see, but she's taken several pictures. I had the property blessed before I spent the first night. The tenants were actually in before I was, by about a couple of weeks. And I had the property blessed by a minister, and he asked me from what standpoint I wanted the property blessed. Did I want them banished, or did I want them to be crossed over and then have the freedom to come and go as they please? And I said that as long as we could live together in harmony and peace, that they were welcome. They'd been here much longer than I had, and that they were welcome to come and go as they please. So he and I walked all over the property. We went to all the buildings, and he said his prayer and such. And then he left. And the next day, not that night, but the following night, all of a sudden, the woods behind the carriage house lit up like it was daylight. And they took several pictures from inside the carriage house out into the woods. And you can the spirits were holding their crossing over ceremony. And you can actually see them standing in a semicircle. Mm-hmm. You can't see details, but you can see forms. And you can see that some of them are firmly on the ground at that point, and while others are rising. They held their own crossing over ceremony the following night, not the night that he blessed the property, which was really interesting. There have been several other pictures that have been taken. The little girl that I found out actually hangs out in my rec room. And she always has, she's very solid in the pictures that have been taken from the carriage house. She's standing right there at that back window. She's always got a light right in front of her. Mm. And I was told that the little girl hangs out in my rec room and she beacons the other spirits to come. Wow. And
is she the slave little girl?
No, she's no. Okay. That's the little one that I don't know when or how.
Okay.
She's probably about 8 or 10 years old. And in those pictures also is somebody from a recent, looks to be Latino, and young. And then there's a very lewd gentleman who always exposes himself. Now, he hasn't done that recently. But
is that out in the field, though?
That's right out in between the back of their house, back of the carriage house, and the end of the garage in that area. Or actually the hay storage area. So there have been some very interesting pictures taken from that house, but also, and within that house, old farm dogs have shown up in their entirety. My dogs have, 2 of my dogs have shown up in their house. And then a picture was taken recently, and they actually went back in time. The house disappeared. She took it from from the living room out towards the woods because there was a walking stick insect on the window that she wanted to get a picture of. The only thing you can see is the walking stick. The windows are gone, the walls are gone, the ceiling's gone, and things that had been there, we think, like trees, big trees hanging over the living room where the ceiling used to be. Confederate and Union soldiers in their living room. And then she pointed out something towards the left, and she said she was uncomfortable with this dark figure, and I looked at it carefully, and I said, that's not a dark figure. I said, that's a doorway. I said, I think that's a slave dwelling. I said, that looks like the entrance to a slave dwelling. I said, you all went back in time with this picture. And it was really bizarre, and she took several pictures, and the house disappeared. I mean, it just wasn't there.
Wow. So you'll have to get a copy for me or something so we can show it on another episode.
Yeah.
Some of these pictures that she's gotten.
Yeah. She's seen my dogs, my last dog, Monroe. He often shows up. Now, he's often in my house, but he hasn't been recently. But she kept telling me about a farm dog that she kept seeing around the property. It turned out to be my dog, my first dog, who died over 40 years ago. Apparently, she's been following me around all these years.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
I know about that story, and that's I know how you felt about what happened, and that it was a girl, right?
It was
Monroe, was it, or another dog?
No, Monroe. No,
what was the name of the
Tabitha.
dog? Tabitha.
Yeah.
And what happened and how you felt about it. And so it's comforting to know that she's
been following me around, and when we get to the barn, I'll tell you some other stories. But Tabitha's apparently been following me around all these years.
Oh, that's so sweet. I think my dogs are following me around too.
They most definitely are.
So Wendy, we're running out of time. I just want to thank you for coming on the show.
You're very welcome.
We will definitely have you back to talk about the barn and the main house and the paranormal activity that occurs there.
Sure.
So thank you for coming.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
So everyone, thank you for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed it and learned some things. And until next time, peace out. So in the end, what have I said is only that I'm sure. For all I know about this place is that I call it Evermore.